JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. Want to make sure that you don't miss out on this new charitable contribution that really anybody who's given to charity pretty well should get this deduction, especially if you have not itemized your deductions. What am I talking about here? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I've pulled up here a Form 1040. And what is new here is if I scroll down to line 10 here, 10B, you'll see that this has never been there before, but charitable contribution is an amount that you get to deduct right there on page 1. When you're doing your 2020 tax return, it is, I'm going to pull this right up here for you in the instructions, $300 if you're single, head of household, or qualifying widower. And it's also $300 married filing jointly. So it's 300 max per return. If you are married filing separately, then it is a $150 deduction. But you should, if you've given to charity, see your charitable contribution show up in one of two places. So the first thing I'm going to note is that if you are not itemizing your deductions and you gave to charity, then you should see that amount on 10B up to the amount that you gave, no more than $300, $150 filing separately. But what we know is that if you are then itemizing your deductions, just the same as always, I've got here Schedule A, which is the itemized deductions. Well, then you'll still see your itemized deductions given here. So it's not giving you any more of a deduction. What this is doing is that it is providing a circumstance that for those that don't itemize their deductions, they're able to get a deduction on top of their standard deduction for what they've given to charity. So standard deduction versus itemized deductions, really quick on that. So the standard deduction you'll see here on the left of Form 1040, here are the amounts that you automatically get. That's the standard deduction. Now, 90% of Americans now go with the standard deduction. Why? Well, if the standard deduction is higher than your itemized deductions, well, pretty clear you're going to want to take the standard deduction. So standard deduction is in essence grown to such a high amount. That's why so many no longer are itemizing their deductions, because the total of the itemized deductions is lower for 90% of Americans. Now, on the itemized deductions, that's your medical, the taxes, interest you've paid, charity, some casualty losses. It still does include some of the new provisions that you'll want to be sure to check out. So I'm going to make sure that in the body of this, you are getting the instructions not only to the Form 1040, where you can find that yourself. Here's the instructions to that line item, but I'll also give you a link to Schedule A and the instructions to Schedule A as it relates to your itemized deductions. Now, just like anything with the tax code, there is very, very, very unique circumstances that if your state has an income tax in terms of at the individual level, sometimes every once in a while, it might make sense to not take the standard deduction at the federal level and forced to take itemized deductions because it helps you at the state level. But that's getting into the weeds. So point is this: if you gave to charity and you're not itemizing your deductions, you're taking that standard deduction. Make sure that you're then seeing your charitable contribution there on line 10B. How do you know if you didn't prepare your return, if you got the itemized deductions or if you got the standard deduction? Well, again, if you will go back to this Form 1040, you'll see down here on line 12, it's standard deduction or itemized deductions. So the key word there is or. So if you're a single individual, married filing separately, and you see on line 12,400, that means you took the standard deduction. And therefore, if you gave to charity, you should be seeing here on 10B your amount of charitable contribution, of course, not more than $300. If you're married filing jointly, qualified widower, well, then you should see 24,800 on line 12 there, because that would be your standard deduction, so on and so forth. So if on line 12 here, you see that you are taking the standard deduction, that would mean that that amount would be higher than your itemized deductions. And so if you're taking the standard deduction and you gave to charity, then you should be seeing here on line 10B your charitable contribution. All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. Check out my other videos on taxes, PPP, as well as a plethora of other issues. I'm a certified public accountant, still practicing, almost 28 years, and I am putting together videos that hopefully will help you, as I feel they'll help my clients. All right. Have a great day. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. Have a great day.